Hi friends, I wanted to connect with those of you here on my personal Facebook page. I've been sharing a lot of stuff in the Souls Gathering Together group, but it occurred to me that talking to a larger audience, to those of you who are starting to see something going on underneath the surface, who are awakening, who are, if you're expanding in your consciousness, I'm going to share a few words about that. I was connecting with light and with guidance, and this is kind of what I wanted to say, which is what's happening is we're expanding into higher states of consciousness. It's happening now as we speak. We're receiving all these energies, especially now in December. There's a very powerful solstice, winter solstice on December 21st, and some of you know about this, of course. But it's very this is a very significant time to be alive, and so we're all in different stages of conceiving what's happening and perceiving what's happening and kind of absorbing what's happening in our own ways. I've gone through my own personal evolution, and ultimately what it comes down to is really standing strong in our truth, in what feels right to us and what feels aligned with us, knowing that there is no fear in love and there is no love in fear, and holding that and noticing, like, when are you getting triggered by something? I certainly have gotten triggered by things, and I have noticed that if that feeling of anger or fear, there's a message in that. There's something that is trying to speak to us in that. And so what's happening is the 3D world is crumbling. The systems that have been broken for thousands of years, that have not been serving us, that have been used to really keep us in an earth prison, are crumbling. Public schools, healthcare, workplace systems, they're becoming more and more unsustainable and more misaligned with these divine beings of light that we really are in these human bodies. This isn't to say that if you're in a traditional workplace or if your kids are in traditional public schools that you're doing something wrong, because our souls often want to experience something that is for balance and understanding. And so some of those things are oppression, and some of those things are just lower vibrational states. But our souls are always, that's why we come into this life, is to experience different expressions of ourself. And how do we know love? We experience the opposite of that. How do we know freedom? We experience the opposite of that. But this is a super powerful time. And so I wanted to really speak to those of you who are feeling like something's up. Like you're starting to realize what's going, I'm going to not get into the whole virus situation because that can trigger a lot of people. But it is related to that, of course. If you're starting to question, if you're starting to wonder, what's happening here? We know that there are people getting sick. We know this thing is real. But what else is happening with these governmental systems, with these mandates, with these lockdowns? Why is that happening? And is it necessary? And just starting to ask questions, really. Because there's a lot of there's very little black and white. There's a lot of gray. Two things can be true at the same time. Yes, it can be, the virus could be dangerous for some people, and yes, it's being used to control and manipulate us and take away our freedoms. Both of those things can be true. And so it's really up to, here's what I would say. I said I wouldn't talk about the virus, and here I am talking about it a little bit, but is, for me personally at least, I have spent a lot of time meditating, connecting with light. Of course, I support others in doing this as well. But what's happening in your own body when you're out in the world or when you have an interaction with somebody? What is happening in your emotional state? Your emotions have information for you, and even a feeling of anger, a feeling of fear, a feeling of maybe it's the opposite. Maybe it's joy. Maybe it's just peace. But especially the negative ones, those have information. We're often from past lives. That can come up, and we're noticing, wow, I'm feeling really triggered by this right now. I'm feeling this emotion. Why? And just going into that and allowing yourself to feel that and allowing yourself to notice that this emotion needs to be cleared. It's coming up to be clear. That is what's happening now on a global level. All these shadows, these controlling forces, and not within a global scale, they're showing themselves for who they are. And then then is happening in our personal lives, that we're seeing all these shadows emerge in our lives to be cleared, hopefully once and for all. I mean, it's probably a lifetime of work, but I see a lot of clients who are saying, well, I thought I dealt with this issue. I thought I managed this already. Why is it coming up again? Well, because now is a time when we have more tools, more abilities to manage our emotions, manage our traumas, big and little traumas from childhood, from who knows what, this lifetime and past lifetime, is both, to really handle them and clear them in a healthy way. It is about the inner child. It is about the protective ego, and just asking your inner child what she or he needs, how you can support that innermost part of you to feel safe. And that's what's happening to a lot of people. They don't feel safe, and they're feeling triggered, and their inner child is feeling unsafe. So it's really taking small steps, being gentle with yourself, and then also knowing that somebody else may be in a completely different state in their soul expansion. And here's what I'm not doing anymore, which is I'm not trying to convince people otherwise of what they should believe or what I want them to think or whatever. I was doing that in the beginning, trying to help people awaken to what's going on. But as some of you may have seen, a lot of people are they're believing what they're believing, and there's a lot of cognitive dissonance going on, a lot of something called confirmation bias. When you receive information that contradicts something you previously learned, the ego often doesn't accept that and just uses that previous information. It's even though there's rational reasons not to believe something that's actually been proven false, but as a way to keep ourselves safe, we continue to believe that. So this is a human psychology thing that's happening with a lot of people, but the game is up for many people, and I've heard from people who are just really unhappy in their lives. If the people who are really stuck in the 3D, attached to the 3D, unhappy in their jobs, they're suffering, and maybe that's you. But that's my message would be: you don't have to suffer. You don't have to live in the 3D, unsustainable version of reality. There's another way to live. It's not like going off and shooting off into some other planet, but it's here. The fifth dimensional way is here. And it is about going into our thoughts and reprogramming our thoughts and really going and working with our energy, because everything is energy, everything's vibration. When we learn about that, and this is the learning, we can absolutely change our lives. I've done this myself. I work on that. I've spent years, past 5 years really working on this, and not to say that everything's like amazing and perfect in my life, but it can be done when we really connect with divine light, quiet our minds, regularly meditate every day, a few minutes in the morning, bringing in divine guidance, angels, especially our really powerful multi-dimensional beings. I like to connect with Pleiadians a lot, and Arcturians coming in more and more, and there's a lot of others. So that's what I'm suggesting, is to just, be in your truth in every moment. What feels right in my body? How does this feel in my body when I say this thing, when I'm making this decision? And it might be completely different. Sometimes, I'm in places and I'll comply with certain rules, and I'm like, that's okay. Vibrationally, it's not going to affect me. And the other times I'm like, this feels off for me, so I'm not going to comply, because I'm taking a stand and saying that I do not consent to this control. So it is, but it's all about, I try to be in a compassionate way and just loving and whatever, to help others around me as well, but in a way that also feels aligned with my truth, knowing that when we are in our truth, coming from a place of love, and yes, it's about courage. We're warriors of the light, some of us, that when we stand up, and we literally can help change the energy. We give the courage to somebody else to stand up for what they feel is right. And when they maybe felt like, oh, I don't really want to be doing this, or, complying in this way, but I'm afraid other people are going to get mad at me if I don't, or I'm going to get kicked out, or I'm going to, be shamed. And so, but when we come from that place of love and honoring our own truth, it's hard to explain how, but then you're standing in your sovereignty and in your power, and that also empowers others. It's so super, super important. It starts with us as an individual, and then it spreads to the collective. So those are my words of advice. Thank you all for being here, And just being outside, light, quieting the mind, noticing the triggers, going into the ego. Of course, I do this work, as many of you know. Thank you for Autumn. Thanks to all of you for showing up. And if you want support, I do a lot of Akashic Records readings these days. And of course, that's it's a really amazing way to get information about your soul purpose and what's happening at a deeper level, why you've chosen to be here at this time, what's going on, what lessons you're working on. And of course, I'm doing an intuitive guide certification program. So if you want to be trained to help other people who are awakening as light workers, I'm offering that starting in January. There's still 4 spots left, I think, something like that. For those of you who are interested in really stepping up and sharing your light, learning how to read the Akashic Records, people need help. People are going to need help more than ever. I've been busier than ever with people asking for support, especially with intuitive work. So that's coming up, and so let me know if you're interested. We'll be helping people clear their ego, really learn to connect with intuitive guidance, and it involves doing your own work too, because we have to, it comes in and it goes out. So that's starting. It's 10 months. It's going to be an intense program. You'll be certified as intuitive guide. You'll be certified to read the Akashic Records. There'll be a few retreats where we're getting together in person if you want. You don't have to do that. And then I'll show you how to market, how to create a website, how to do all the 3D, creating a business for yourself type of thing. It can be done. I've done it, and I support my family on it. My husband has his own business too, of course, but we're both self-employed, out of the matrix, and creating our own livelihood, and it's true freedom. So anyway, many blessings, much love to you all. Thanks for being here. Bye.